Attention snapped the moment South Park did what the British press, American commentators, and even former supporters had been doing quietly for years. It said the quiet part out loud, but with jokes sharp enough to cut through PR armor. When South Park aired the worldwide privacy tour, it wasn't gossip, it wasn't rumor, and it wasn't hate. It was satire rooted in verifiable footage, direct quotes, and public behavior. The episode didn't accuse Meghan Markle and Prince Harry of crimes. It accused them of contradiction. And that accusation landed because the receipts already existed. What made this moment explosive wasn't that South Park mocked them, it was how little exaggeration was needed. The signs, the slogans, the endless press runs framed as pleas for silence, all of that mirrored real-world events. Netflix documentaries, Oprah interviews, book tours, podcast confessions, court filings. South Park didn't invent a narrative. It stitched together the one the Sussexes themselves released into the world. That's why the backlash hit harder than any tabloid headline ever could. Now let's talk facts, not feelings. Prince Harry is currently engaged in legal battles against sections of the British press, including Associated Newspapers Limited, over alleged unlawful information gathering. Alleged is the key word. These are claims still moving through the courts, not proven verdicts. And this matters because South Park's satire arrives in the middle of that legal storm, exposing a brutal reality. Courtrooms don't operate on vibes, trauma, or public sympathy, they operate on evidence. Satire doesn't weaken a legal case directly, but it absolutely shapes public perception of credibility. Here's where Meghan Markle becomes the lightning rod. Fair or not, critics increasingly view her as the architect of the Sussex media machine, the branding, the messaging, the timing, the monetization. This perception didn't come from South Park. It came from years of strategic rollouts. High-profile interviews contradicting previous claims, simultaneous privacy demands paired with commercial storytelling, and a pattern of framing criticism as persecution rather than scrutiny. South Park didn't assign her that role, it reflected how the public already sees her. And this is the uncomfortable truth their defenders don't like to address: satire doesn't work unless an audience already recognizes the pattern. South Park has mocked presidents, billionaires, corporations, and entire belief systems, but it only lands when there's cultural fatigue. The laughter isn't random. It's cumulative. By the time comedians step in, the audience has already made up its mind that something doesn't add up. Look at the timeline. After stepping back from royal duties, Harry and Meghan promised a quieter life. What followed was one of the most aggressive personal story monetization campaigns in modern celebrity history. That's not opinion, that's record. Multi-million-dollar media deals. A memoir detailing private family conversations. Documentaries revisiting grievances already aired. Each release reignited coverage they claimed to despise. That contradiction is the beating heart of South Park's critique. Legally speaking, this contradiction matters. Judges are human. Juries are human. Public narratives bleed into credibility whether anyone admits it or not. When someone positions themselves as a victim of media abuse while simultaneously feeding that same media ecosystem, skepticism becomes inevitable. Legal analysts have said repeatedly that emotional harm must still be proven within strict legal frameworks, not moral arguments. Satire highlights that gap mercilessly. South Park also zeroed in on something rarely discussed: control. The show framed Meghan's character as obsessively managing image, messaging, and victimhood, not as a factual claim, but as a commentary on how public figures are perceived when narratives feel over-engineered. Again, perception isn't invented in a writer's room. It grows from repetition. And repetition is something the Sussex strategy has relied on heavily. What makes this especially damaging is timing. The episode aired while Harry's legal claims were still unresolved, meaning every joke landed in a context of unfinished business. Instead of silencing critics, the lawsuit era has expanded the conversation. Instead of reclaiming dignity, the brand has become a punchline in mainstream culture. When satire shows up before verdicts do, it often signals that the cultural jury has already reached a conclusion. And let's be clear, this isn't about cruelty. It's about accountability. South Park didn't deny Harry's pain or Meghan's experiences. It questioned consistency. It questioned motive. It questioned whether endless public confession can coexist with demands for invisibility. Those are legitimate questions, and no lawsuit can erase them. So when headlines scream, "Furious after South Park roast," the fury isn't really about cartoons. It's about loss of narrative control. Once satire takes over, PR loses its grip. And once public skepticism hardens, even valid legal claims face an uphill battle. That's the real fallout here, not embarrassment, but erosion of trust. And that's why this moment matters. Because South Park didn't start the fire. It showed everyone how long it's been burning.